Hello, I'm Chris Smith and I'd like to welcome our administrators to today's briefing. It's nice to see so many of you here. It looks like, well, we're kind of fast approaching the 100 mark. It's Wednesday, 19th of February, and I'm speaking to you live from Glasgow, Scotland, home of PASMA's HQ. If you're watching a replay or recording, I'm not speaking to you live, and you can be guaranteed this is not AI generated, but you'll still be able to enjoy the webinar just the same. You may have attended our briefing in December and we listened to your feedback and have created this to look more into the touch points that you advised us about. The mandatory use of TowerSure into our training courses is fast approaching, and Karen will update you on that shortly. So there's lots to fill you in today, but first, there are a couple of things I'd like to mention to help you get the most out of today's session. Firstly, there is the chat feature. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a chat icon, and it's good to see that so many there. So use it to say hello, introduce yourself and connect with other members. Just make sure that you change the blue drop-down button to everyone. That way your message can be seen by all. It's good to see a few of you in there. I see we've been joined today by JD, the chairman's daughter. Good to see you, JD. How's things down in Kent? George Lopez, I see you there also, and a few others. Our team will do our best to drop in and out of the chat in between presenting, but we might not always be able to respond, certainly not as quickly as you'd like. If you have any questions that you do really want us to answer, use the Q&A box. You'll find the Q&A box next to the chat icon at the bottom of the screen. You can submit questions at any point during the briefing and we'll answer as many as we can at the end. You can also upvote questions to help us prioritise the ones that are of most interest. I'm going to preempt the most common question that we do get asked at these briefings. Is this session going to be recorded? Well, as I've already stated, yes, this is going to be recorded and will be made available to members and instructors by the end of the week. Today, we are going to take you through what you need to do as an administrator setting up projects and attaching instructors. But don't worry, Karen will break these down into nice, easy steps for you, and she'll be joined with a guest speaker. Then we'll explain what My Access Industry is about. And we'll finish off with a Q&A session. We'll be joined by all of our guests again. So to get things off, I'm going to do a quick poll. To see for those of you who are already using TowerSure. Oh, sorry, my poll has popped up on a different screen. Sorry about that. So I'm going to launch a quick poll, and we're going to look here. I've got a few questions for you. I've set up projects, yes, and I've invited my instructors. Yes, I've set up projects, but I haven't invited instructors. Not quite. I've looked at it, but I haven't set it up yet. And no, I haven't looked at it. So I'm going to give you another couple of seconds to go through this. Good, the numbers are ramping up here. Oh, and on the stand side, taking the lead. So I'm going to end the poll here. 3, 2, 1, and so it looks like we've got a bit of a mixture here. So quite a few of you haven't looked at it yet. Hopefully the presentation today by Karen will enlighten you to what you do, but there's also quite a few of you have actually started setting up projects and also have invited instructors, which is also very good. So for those of you who have set up a project, there might be some things in here that you might learn. And for those of you who haven't yet, be prepared. Karen and she's going to be joined very shortly with a guest who has set up a project and invited instructors very shortly. So I'm sure you have lots of questions and updates. If you're watching live or you're watching replay, we'll have a Q&A at the end, as I said, for this session. So pop your questions in the Q&A box for us. I'm now going to hand over to Karen O'Neill. Karen is our Head of Training Administration and Delivery to talk you through the updated courses. Karen will also be joined by Charlotte. Charlotte works for HSS, and there'll be discussions to how they've found using TowerSure and setting up projects. Karen, over to you.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today and taking the time. Last time I saw you guys was back in December, which by the way feels like an absolute age ago now. And I was introducing you to new and improved Towers for Users, low level and combined courses that had just been added to our online registration system. So fast forward to today, we're getting close to the deadline of the 31st of March. This is now the cut-off point when you should be using the latest version of the courses. Might be an idea for you to remind your instructors of the deadline. I'll be doing it later on, but it's just in case we miss any. So from your point of view as course administrators, there's a few things you need to do or start doing that will make future courses run a little more smoothly. That's because of the biggest change that was made was the introduction of TowerSure, PASMA's inspection app, which will now be used during the courses. So, what is TowerSure? So I'll do a quick recap for those who couldn't attend or have not had a chance to view the recording of the last briefing where we discussed what TowerSure is. TowerSure is a system developed by PASMA primarily so that people can use it to record digital inspections of mobile access towers to make sure that they're safe to use. You can access it via mobile app or web console. The app also includes the virtual version of the PASMA card. George will cover this in more detail in his briefing on the 4th of March. And just a reminder, TowerSure is completely free to download and use. In this briefing, I'd like to look at TowerSure from your point of view as course administrators. There's a few things that you need to start doing. So to prepare for this change, you need to get your training centre set up on TowerSure, and I'll talk you through that now. So as we explained last time, we need you to register for TowerSure, and the best way to do this by using the web-based link. You'll find this on our website. This gives you direct access to the console. We need you to set up your training centre as an organisation within the console. This can be done by one person, or it can be done, they can then add all of the other users or people who need to be added to the console. This can either be done on your phone or by using a PC and laptop. I found it a bit easier using a PC as the screens are larger. So once you've completed the registration form, we need you to create your organisation. And by the way, definition of the console is a web-based management tool that allows you to oversee tower inspections, where photos and details of all towers on your sites to ensure compliance with safety standards. This system enhances the safety and efficiency of scaffold tower usage by providing a centralised platform for inspection records and real-time monitoring. So let's create our organisation. So if you click on organisation and then click create. You enter your details by adding your member name, the point of contact, which will be the person registering, add your position, your email address, telephone number, and the address. This will typically be your main training centre address, and then click save. Now we have our organisation, so it was pretty quick and easy to set up. Now we're going to add our first user. So from your dashboard, click on user, and then click invite user. So please select all organisations projects from the drop-down list. This allows all of your admin users access to see all of the projects within your organisation. You can then add as many users as you require. To add more users, simply add their email address, and you can either type them in, copy and paste them in, or you can bulk upload from a CSV file, and then click invite. You'll then see a screen prompt asking you to confirm. We just click confirm. So once that user has been added, the user should now receive an email asking them to log in using the link within the email. This will take the user to the website where they should now click on register for TowerSure account. Complete the form using the same email address that your invitation email was sent to, and then click register. You'll then be asked to accept our terms and conditions. Please read these before clicking accept terms and conditions. Once the user has logged in, the system will alert them to the fact that they have a pending invite. If you click go to invites to accept this, obviously we're going to accept the invite, and we just click accept. This will then add the user to your list of users for this console. You've just registered your first user. We recommend you do this for anyone who will need access to this console to add instructors. If you want to see all of your console users, yep, you've guessed it, we just click on users and this will display all the users that you've added here. And on the console, you can add and remove users. So we've created our organisation and we have added our users. So now we need to add your instructors. Whilst logged into the console, click on projects and then click create. We ask that you add your instructors as projects. Instructors will have their own user access to the TowerSure app, as they should have already downloaded it. What we're about to do next is link an instructor to your console, and we do this by adding them as a project. Each project should be the name of an instructor, and each of your instructors should be added as a separate project. And we enter your instructor's name, and that's the name of the project, and then select your organisation. Allow app users to add sites. This should be set to active. It will allow the instructor to record where the inspection is taking place. Typically this will be at your premises, but of course this could be an off-site course. So we need them to be able to add a site. And what we mean by site is the location where the training and inspection is taking place. And this will be recorded on your console. Share images with Check a Tower. This functionality is not available yet, so we can leave this for the time being. In-app checklist automatically approve. This just allows the instructor to complete the inspection, so make sure you choose this option and then click Save. So we're now going to invite our instructor to the project, and we can follow the same steps as we did earlier to add a user. Click Users, then Invite. Select your member name from the organisation. This time we're going to select specific projects only, and we'll then select the instructor name from your list. This ensures that the instructor will only be able to see their project, so they won't be able to see everyone's. Enter the role, which will be app user. Select manual entry, as we're adding them manually. Enter their email address. This will need to be the same email address that they registered on the app with, and then click Invite. The instructor will then receive a push notification. It's worth noting here that for this app, we need the user to allow push notifications, as this will alert them to the fact that they've been added to a project. They, of course, should select Accept, and the instructor has now access to that project. For freelance instructors, the process is just the same, but all that we ask is when you create a project for them, please add your member name before theirs when creating the project. So for example, ABC Training, Chris Smith is the instructor. As they will work for other members, it will save confusion on their part. I want to reiterate at this point, the instructors can only see projects that they have been added to. Only members can see all of the projects within their organisation. So we've uploaded 2 user guides to the online registration system, and you can find these in general downloads. One is for you guys as the member, detailing everything that I've just mentioned, and the other is for instructors, giving them details on how to set up the practical session. So like Chris mentioned earlier, we're going to go through some of the touch points, but once you've created your organisation, added your users and instructors, you're ready to start using TowerSure at your training centre. So here's a timeline showing all of the points when a delegate will interact with TowerSure. On this briefing, which is aimed at you guys administrators, we're going to focus mostly on points 1 and 5. The rest will be covered in a briefing in the instructors this afternoon. So let's start with point 1, before the course. So now we have you all set up and ready to rock. We have some advice that may help you or help the day run a little smoother. Ask the delegates to download the TowerSure app prior to the course. We would recommend adding the information about TowerSure to your course booking information and to the confirmation email and joining instructions. So here's an example of an email template that you could use. I've added a section for course preparation, which includes links to the Apple and Android store, giving a brief explanation as to why we need them to download the app. I've also attached the course notes and code of practice, but of course you can use your own. But the one thing I would make sure is to emphasise that the name they use to register for TowerSure must exactly match the name they register for the course and record in the delegate booklet. So the example I've given here, I've used if the delegate uses Christopher on the app, but completes the paperwork as Chris, the app won't be able to match them, so the system won't find them. When you send out those instructions, you might get some replies or phone calls from people who are having trouble installing the app. I want to emphasise a couple of things here. We do not expect you to become IT support line. It's not mandatory to use TowerSure. If a delegate can't or won't, the instructor will show them how to complete the old school hard copy inspection records for their tower. We are confident that any issues should be minimal. as it's really straightforward. If you're in a critical situation, however, so for example, you can't add an instructor to your organisation before the course starts, and this could be something last minute, like an instructor change due to sickness, you can contact us on a new emergency TowerSure support line on 0800 208 8707. This will only be answered during the hours of 9 to 5 p.m. UK time, and as I say, it's only for emergencies. So, I'm now going to invite Charlotte Thompson to join us. Charlotte is the Administrative Manager at HSS Hire Service Group. And I'll be asking her a few short questions on what her experience is in TowerSure and what it's been like.
Hello, can you see me and hear me?
Yeah, we've got you. Sorry, Charlotte, I've got a bit of a delay at this end.
No, you're okay.
If you bear with me a second, guys. Sorry, my notes have ceased to work. Even though we practice these so often, it still happens. I do apologise. I'm struggling here. Maarten, are you available to help?
I am.
My screen is frozen and I can't get my notes behind what I'm supposed to be looking at. Can you?
Okay.
Everything is froze on my screen at the minute. I do apologise, guys. This happens.
Right. There's nothing we can do about that. I think, Karen, you may have to go out and come back in again. Charlotte, maybe I should briefly ask you if you can tell us a little bit about your experience with TowerSure so far, while Karen is trying to get back.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically before the course, we send all our delegates joining instructions. So those go by email and they just include instructions on how to download the app and tell them, please download it before you attend as it's going to be used as part of your practical session. Not really had any massive issues with delegates. They all seem to generally be quite happy with what's going on the courses. A couple of internet issues on site, or you may see some people with work phones where it's blocking the app or the download, usually resolved by them downloading on the personal phone on the day. But I mean, from a clerical perspective, it's been getting all the instructors linked. We've got over 60 instructors. That's been time consuming, but quite easy, actually. I think when I've reached out and said to them, I'm going to link you through to the organisation, there's a bit of trepidation. Oh no, how are we going to do this? But, they're all on the app, using the app. As soon as they log in, it's there. It seems to be going quite smoothly for them.
Okay. So what would you say is the most common problem then that delegates have with it? Is that the company phones, or besides that, what do you get usually as something that they say, oh, this doesn't work for me?
Yeah, I think once they have the app downloaded, they're completely fine and they go in. It can just be, as you know, sometimes sites don't have the best internet, or it can be the company phones and they're blocked. We do try and minimize that by telling them to download it before the course, which is nice. Doesn't always happen, as I'm sure you can imagine. But yeah, the actual using of the app doesn't seem to be a problem at all. They're all quite happy with that.
Okay. How do the delegates find it during the course?
Yeah, so I've spoke to a couple of trainers, and they've said, like, oh yeah, no problems at all. I've spoke to a few to try and get problems for you, but I think we're all just starting off. It's not too dissimilar to what they were doing on paper anyway. It's just moving it to that kind of digital format. So yeah, the actual trainer side of it, I've not heard anything bad yet.
Okay. If there is anything that you would change, what would that be now that you have done this?
I wish I'd realised I could upload emails in CSV because I did every single instructor individually, typing it in. That was a daft move.
Okay, so that's a good bit of advice to people. If you've got lots of people to load in, use the CSV option. That is that is
Yeah. I mean, it does
rather
work the
easy.
other way. It just takes a long time.
Yes. Yeah. Have you used TowerSure yourself?
I've had a look and I've had a play and I've gone through the inspections, but I'm not a tower user myself, so I haven't actually inspected a tower with it, but I have gone through and inspected a pretend tower. Yes.
Excellent.
Thought
Right. Is
thought
there
I'd
any
drop.
final thing you
Yeah.
want to say, Charlotte? When I hand over to Chris, he's appeared here again.
Yeah, I've just popped in, Maarten, just to obviously see if Karen can get things up and running, And Charlotte, you've got quite a number of instructors. In fact, you've got the most instructors of any member that we have. And I take it all of your instructors are now attached to projects that you've set up, and including
Yeah.
your freelance instructors, so the instructors who are not employed by you, but also your freelance instructors.
Yes.
Okay, can you explain? So on that front, so your employed instructors are they're pretty straightforward. But when you set up a freelance instructor, what do you do with them? Do you attach like do you have your company name before them and then followed by their name?
Yep. So it's exactly the same. So if Chris, you're a subcontractor for ourselves, I'm just setting up the project as HSS Chris Smith. Which then actually as well groups them nicely in my list of users, so I can see
See who
external
they are.
trainers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh look, she's back. By popular demand. I don't know
Yes.
if you've got any audio there, Karen.
Yeah, I have. I'm back. The screen, I got the blue screen of death just at the right point, and I'm thinking, oh my
Absolutely.
goodness. So my nerves are rattled now, guys. So
No.
let's see how this goes. So apologies, Charlotte, for leaving you with Chris. I'm sure
It was
Martin
Maarten, it
handled
wasn't
it.
you.
Well,
Martin handled it fine.
I'm going to leave now. But it was nice meeting you, Charlotte. Thanks, and see you later.
Karen, back over to you. Are you ready to pick this back up again?
I
Or do
am
you need
good
a-
to go. Yep, I'm good to
Awesome.
go.
See you guys when you're done.
Okay, thanks, Charlotte. Charlotte, thank you for your patience. Now you know what I've got to put up with in here.
You're very
So,
welcome. We got through it. It's fine.
good. I'm sorry if these questions have already been asked. Obviously, whilst I've got the blue screen of death, I couldn't see anything. So if we've covered them, just let me know. So the first question was going to be, how do you tell your delegates about TowerSure? Is it in an email?
Yeah. So it's on the joining instructions. So we just tell them to make sure they download in their app before the course because it's going to be part of the practical element.
Brilliant. Are you happy to share any of the wording that you use for these?
I am, so I can send it to you after if you wanted
That'd
to
be
share that as
great.
well.
Because I think even getting started sometimes is quite hard with these. I know what it's like trying to compose an email from scratch, but that would be great. I'll contact you after this briefing. We'll get some of your template if that's okay.
Yeah.
What questions have the delegates or their employees come back and asked you about TowerSure?
Yeah, so we've definitely covered that one.
Oh, has that been done? That's
Yeah,
okay. Let's move
internet
on.
issues and things like that.
So what's your experience been like using the console, or has that already been covered as well?
It has as well, I'm afraid.
Well, that's
You'll
all
never
I've got.
know.
Yes, I'll never know. I'll go back and watch the recording. Don't worry about it. Not my part, actually. But thank you again for joining us, and sorry for that
You're
technical
welcome.
glitch. But as I say, it is live, and these things happen. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's been really insightful for our members. So let's move on, and hopefully I'm not going to crash and burn again. And we'll talk about touch point 2, when the delegates arrive for the course. So it's now the day of the course, and ideally this means every delegate turns up for the course and they've already downloaded TowerSure app and everything works swimmingly. I know, I'll crack the jokes. We know that's never going to happen. And it doesn't matter how good your pre-course communications are, there will always be someone who hasn't done it yet. So to remind them, it's maybe a good idea to display a download link in the classroom so that they can install it quickly and easily before the day begins. We've got a poster here that you can download and print, and you can either put it on the wall or laminate it and leave it on the desks. We'll pop it in the link to download in the chat, and we'll also email it out to you guys later too. So the theory session, delegates will learn about TowerSure during the theory part of the course. There's a new section in the updated training courses that covers it all. I'll skip past this though, because we'll cover this in more detail in the instructor briefing this afternoon. So moving on to the practical session, your instructor and the delegates will use TowerSure during the practical session of their course. Instructors will use it on their phone to record an inspection of a demonstration tower they've built using the TowerSure label. This is why you invited them to a project, as by being part of a project, they will have access and be able to use the TowerSure label. And I guess here's probably the best place to let you know that we will shortly be sending out every instructor at least 2 TowerSure labels that they'll be using during their demonstration inspection. We have just been working out the final details on how to capture your instructor's information. They will shortly receive an email from us asking them where they would like us to send the labels. We didn't want to put that task on you guys, as I'm pretty sure you have enough to be doing around these courses. And I'll explain this in a little more detail this afternoon to the instructors. So every delegate, as I said, will use TowerSure to record their own inspection of a tower that they've helped build. They won't be using the label as demonstrated by the instructor. For them to use the label, they would have had to have been added to a project. Now this is something that we are working on behind the scenes. We will develop a method by which the candidate will automatically be added to a project. Most likely this will happen when they've been added to a booking. This is a work in progress and we are taking this one step at a time, and it's to make sure we don't miss anything that you guys, once using, could recommend. So I guess the main thing you need to know about the practical session is that the delegates will not be using the TowerSure label, but they will have to copy a 9-digit tower ID. This will appear on their app. You can see that on screen where to find the code. We need them to then transfer this code to the delegate booklet as shown on the screen. Our auditors can use the code, the 9-digit code, to find your delegate's inspection and see the photos of the tower that they've built. If there is no 9-digit code recorded, then we will expect to see a hard copy green and red label, which is the old school way of recording inspections. If neither of these are present, this would be a major non-conformance, as there is no evidence that an inspection had taken place. After passing the course, delegates will now get a virtual card via the TowerSure app. However, we're currently still printing cards, so you can get both at this time. Delegates can only get access to their virtual card in TowerSure once they have their certificate number. I don't want to steal any of George's thunder here. George will explain in greater detail how this works and maybe even give you some hints and tips in his briefing. There's no urgency for you to start the move to virtual cards, as you still have the option to opt in. This will become opt out on the 31st of March. You'll still have a little longer after that before it becomes mandatory. Until you make the switch, we'll continue sending you the printed cards as normal. And just a quick note, if you don't opt out after the 31st of March, you won't receive the plastic cards. So if you want to keep the cards, make sure you opt out. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot more we want to tell you about the virtual cards to help you adapt your processes and get ready for the change. So George will cover this in more detail in his briefing. So for now, that's the basics that you need to know. The last point in the timeline covers the years after the course ends, and we believe TowerSure is a game changer for tower safety. We want more and more organisations to manage inspections all through our courses. We talk about competence. Without going into too much detail, the Advisory Committee on Work at Height Training has given a definition of competence for people who work at height. This has previously been defined in other regulations as simply a combination of training, technical knowledge and experience. The candidates, by successfully completing the PASMA course, can demonstrate training and technical knowledge. We have never been able to capture actual experience, and this is where TowerSure comes into play in a major way, as everyone who uses TowerSure will be able to demonstrate experience via this app. In future, we will create additional functionality. Like all apps, it will evolve. You may require a subscription for the additional functionality, but don't worry, all of today's functionality will remain free. TowerSure helps improve safety in the workplace where it's used, and that's why it's so important that it's embedded into our courses. So thank you for supporting us on that mission. Just a quick note on the additional modules. These will all have TowerSure added to them by the end of March, so you can update your comms and processes at the same time. With all of these course updates, you might now be wondering about the paperwork. This is entirely digital now. We are no longer selling printed paperwork from a shop, but you can download everything you need from the online registration system. So I'm now going to hand you back to Christopher. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Karen, and thank you, Charlotte, with a brief interlude there from Maarten de Vries. Really interesting to hear about HSSE's experience using TowerSure. I'm sure you'll all be happy to hear that. Now that you know what TowerSure is, because that was one of the questions which was asked in there, TowerSure is a digital app for inspecting towers. And how you to prepare your training centre for setting up projects and inviting employed and freelance instructors. Also, letting delegates know how to download TowerSure prior to attending the course, and for those who haven't done it before the course, then what they should do on arrival. And as Karen had shown you there, maybe setting up a poster with the QR codes just outside the training room to allow them to get access to it. And then when the course is finished, they'll access their virtual cards on TowerSure, and that'll be covered in the next briefing hosted by George Lopez on the 4th of March. I know there's a lot of information covered there, but just remember this is being recorded and you can refer back to it later. So Karen, you thought you were getting to put your feet up, but you'll have to wait a little longer. Karen is going to be joined by Maarten de Vries. For those of you who don't know, Maarten is our Head of Operations, Systems and Innovations, and he has been involved in most of what you use every day on our PASMA webpage and our online registration system. But I hear you ask, what is MyAccessIndustry? We're here to explain it all in interview style are Karen and Maarten.
Hi, Maarten. Thanks again for being here. So it's been a so like what Chris just asked you there, can you explain to us and the members what is myaccessindustry.org?
Hi, Karen. Yeah, sure. It is a system that is going to provide secure access to all our current and future member-facing apps, not just for PASMA, also for Ladder Association and Atlas.
Brilliant. So how does it work, Maarten?
So when members want to access any of our applications, they get redirected to myaccessindustry.org, where they then will be able to log in. And as soon as they get redirected back to the application they try to access, and then they will be able to use it. The biggest benefit to the user is that they only need a single set of credentials to access all relevant applications. And also, once they have logged into one application, they are automatically logged into all other applications. Furthermore, if you are working on your own PC, you can choose to remain logged in. So each time you go to any of your applications, you won't need to do that. You won't need to log in again. So that makes things a lot easier. It's fairly similar to having like a Google account with which you can log into Gmail or YouTube, etc.
So you mentioned account there. Do we need an account?
Yeah, that's right. So the first time that you are redirected to myaccessindustry.org, you are asked to create an account. All we need is your name, your email address, and optionally a mobile number. We do recommend the number because it gives you more options for us to send you two-factor authentication codes, which is also a new feature. After you have confirmed your account, you're ready to go.
You mentioned two-factor authentication there. Easy for me to say. Can you explain why we need this and how it works?
Yeah, multi-factor authentication is really becoming the norm when logging into applications. It adds a much needed extra layer of security. It's very easy to use and it works very much like many of the other applications that use it. You may indeed be familiar already with it. When we need to confirm it's really you, you will either get an email or we text if you prefer with a one-time 6-digit passcode, which you then need to provide to complete the registration or to log in. Again, if it's safe enough to do so, you can opt to not be asked again for the code for up to 90 days. And incidentally, if you choose to log out of all your applications on all your machines, which is an option you have, then the two-factor authentication also resets. You will also be asked to provide two-factor authentication if you move to another computer or a different connection.
Perfect. So what systems are going to make use of this?
Eventually everything. So all the member-facing applications that we are producing, which we are currently working on and planning for the future, will be using myaccessindustry.org. It will go live soon on the online registration system, and our new instructor CPD system will use it too.
Perfect. So where will users go if they have any questions or encounter any issues or problems?
While we are developing our new applications, we are also in the process of revamping our support facilities. All our online applications will have the usual online manuals where you will be able to find everything you need to learn how to use it and also how to fix common problems. If you can't find the answer in the manual, then there will be a form you can fill in to raise a support ticket with us. For mission critical issues, we will also provide a phone number. We will let you know about all these by the time we are planning to go live.
And you just mentioned go live. Do we have a date for go live?
Yeah, that will be very soon. The first application using this technology will be launched in a few weeks' time at our next briefing. More applications will then follow soon, specifically the online registration system, and we will announce this well in advance so you will be ready to use it.
Perfect. Thanks for explaining that for us, Maarten, and I'm sure we'll all look forward to the single sign-on. No more multiple passwords for different applications. With that being said, I am now going to hand you back to Christopher.
Oh, the good old use of the Sunday name. Thanks, Karen, and thanks, Maarten. Now it's time to answer your questions. Can I ask all our presenters to leave their cameras on? Thanks. So we've got Karen, Maarten, we have got Charlotte, who should be with us, and of course you've got me. If you have any questions, get them in as quick as you can, because I'm sure we've got a lot to get through. Rhona, you've been keeping an eye on the Q&A box throughout this session. Rhona, do you have any questions for me or panelists?
Yes, we do. We've got lots of questions that are coming through on the Q&A box, and we had some questions that were submitted in advance. So I think we'll just crack on and try and get through as many of them as we can. Karen, can we start? Obviously, there's quite a lot of questions for you, I think, here with the TowerSure and getting set up and things. Can you clarify, does TowerSure replace the current course booking system?
No, it's really where the candidates and the members will record the inspection. So the inspection of the tower, that's going to sit in the TowerSure app. We have access to the app where we can see, like I mentioned earlier, the 9-digit code. So we can see on a course, check the paperwork, see that the delegates completed the paperwork, you can see the 9-digit code and pull up an image of the tower. So it's not replacing the booking system. Absolutely not.
Brilliant. And I'll stay with you for now. Just a few questions on like the actual data that's required to get set up. There's a few people are asking about, there's a box asking for a PASMA certificate number. What do
So
they enter in that box?
that is when you're on the app. So when you're on the app, if you have, so this is where candidates or delegates will get their virtual card. So if you're an instructor, a delegate, anything like that, you put your certificate number in and it will link your qualification and you'll be able to see an image of your card via TowerSure.
Brilliant. So setting up in the portal, you don't need to put in
No.
a PASMA certificate number. That's just if you do have a PASMA card,
Yeah.
you would then get to see your virtual card when you have the app.
By setting up the console, you get access to the app, so each and everyone will have their own user access to the app, but the console will be for the organisation. And that's why we're adding the users to it.
Okay, perfect. And also, could you define project? What is a project?
So this was just the terminology that we used. Basically, the project is the instructor, and it's so that we can determine who the instructor are that are conducting the course that day. We've just defined it as project. So every instructor essentially is a project. So when you're conducting your courses, you don't have to do anything on the online registration system. The instructor will simply click themselves on their app and that will then connect to your console, which because you've added them as a user, and you'll be able to see their demonstration tower. You won't be able to see the delegates ones, but you will be able to see the instructor demonstration tower.
Yeah, I think Rhona and Karen, the app is obviously made for a much wider audience than just training.
Yeah.
So, and the idea of a project is that people can collect tower inspections in one place, so that they, and that is the idea of a project. And for the training courses, it just turned out that the project was the ideal way of collecting all the towers of a specific instructor in one place.
Thanks,
Brilliant.
Maarten.
That makes sense. And Maarten, since you've started speaking there, I'll ask you a question. See if a candidate doesn't write the 9-digit code on their paperwork or they forget to write it. Is there a way that the training centre can kind of retrospectively go and get that for them if they don't do it, or they forget to?
Yeah, not at the moment. So we are going to be, we are very keen to make sure that you capture that and check it before you take the paperwork in, to see that that code is on there, because while the delegate is still there, they can go back in the app and check it. If for whatever reason they have disappeared and it is not on the paperwork, fill in the form, explain, you need to give us the email address, the date and the location of the training, and then we will be able to get that code for you. But as I say, we'd rather not. So please do check before you take in the paperwork that code is filled in. But yeah, we can provide it. In the future, that may well change, because we are constantly looking at improving the whole system, and this is phase one. In the next phase, there may well be a way for you to see the inspections that have taken place in your training center.
Brilliant. Chris, can I ask you, just to stick on the topic of the 9-digit code, is that in terms of like what our auditors are looking for in the training paperwork, is this 9-digit code the new thing? Is that the only thing that we're now looking for that is different from before?
Yes, but again, just to reiterate from some of the points that are on, I think one of the questions on there is, I deliver training courses in prisons and the delegates don't have access to mobile phones. The paper option's there, so if you can't use the 9-digit code because of the particular area that you're working in, refer back to the paper. And again, you've got a training course record at the front page in there. This course was delivered in the prisons. We can't access mobile phones. We have to revert back to using the paper, things like that. And again, I think one of the other questions in there was, when you say digital, does it mean we don't print paperwork off? Well, we're expecting you to print paperwork off. Whereas in the past, our members maybe had to purchase boxes of 100, and then we maybe halfway through that box of 100, we changed a question or we changed something, then you had to throw them in the bin and they buy new ones. Well, now, if we make an amendment or a change, it happens instantly. So if you print off the paperwork at your end, print on demand, it just means that you can print what you need for the courses that you're delivering at that time. You don't have to wait for an update from us. So digital paper or digital stuff that Karen mentioned earlier on means that we are no longer selling you paperwork. You can print it on demand yourself. And on that, things like what we've added, the 9-digit code, as I said to Rhona. So if the 9-digit code, it's a new thing, that 9-digit code will disappear as soon as you dismantle the tower. So as long as you haven't dismantled the tower between leaving the practical area on your app before you get back in the training room, the 9-digit code for the delegate will remain there. But if you haven't got it, then you could write down on the delegate dismantled the tower on the app before they go back into the classroom. It happens. It's going to happen, and as long as we've got some sort of evidence here as to, look, this is what I've done as an instructor, and this is to make sure this doesn't happen again. I'm going to speak to all the delegates prior to coming back into the classroom at the end of the day. Don't dismantle the tower until you've written down the 9-digit numbers. All these things. Yeah. Hope that's answered a few questions in there.
Chris, I'm going to say you're always very good at like ticking a lot of questions off my off my list. Whenever I ask you one question, we seem to get 10 answers, which is good. Charlotte, I'm going to apologise as well, because while Karen was having her technical problems, I had a jog down the stairs to see if I could help. So I missed most of your section. So apologies if this touches on stuff you've already spoken about. But I was wondering how long it took you to set up the TowerSure portal, if it is like any general sort of time frame.
So I went on and created an account in the organisation, and that was a few minutes. Adding all the projects and instructors, I did it in a day. It didn't take me all day, but I was saying I would recommend perhaps using the CSV format because I hadn't realised that existed and did them all manually. I think the biggest time has been going to trainers and reminding them, log into your app and make sure. But once they've been told, it's been pretty smooth, pretty quick.
Okay, and that's coming from you, who you obviously have a lot of instructors to manage. So yeah, that's reassuring, hopefully, for any smaller training organisations that are listening. Karen, can you confirm? So you mentioned there the deadline to switch that 31st of March, that's a deadline for switching to the new training courses,
New training
isn't it?
courses. Yep.
And has that deadline been brought forward a little bit?
It has been
Yep.
brought, as you guys have probably heard, we did have some technical issues, like me today. We had some bugs that hadn't been looked after, hadn't been sorted out yet. So we took the time between last week and this week to make sure that we'd ironed out and fixed any of the known bugs that we have. Not to say that we've covered absolutely everything. So guys, if you do come across any bugs or there's anything like that, we have a report a bug form. Maarten, can you remind me the name of the website that we go to, TowerSure? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here, Maarten. You're on mute.
Yeah, towersure.pasma.co.uk will take you to the instruction manual, and there you will see links to the forum. So it says something like reporting a bug or bugs and issues you can report there. So
that's when
TowerSure, I'll put it in the chat. So
thank you. That's when we expect every instructor to be using the new courses and the latest version of the courses.
That's great, because there's been a couple, I think just a couple of points in the Q&A about particular maybe bugs and errors. Like Maarten, one to mention is someone saying that when deactivating a user, they're getting a message saying you are not permitted to access this resource. I don't know if that's a bug or a settings problem, but those kind of things are the kind of things we're looking for to be reported to us, aren't they? Because if we knew about that, we would fix it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't know what we don't know. So you need to let us know. Basically, tell us anything. And it can only help everyone else's usage of the app and help us move forward with it.
Amazing. Chris, do delegates have to complete the paper inspection document if they've done the TowerSure inspection and have the 9-digit code?
No, they don't. So if you've got the 9-digit code, which you add to the front of the delegate booklet, there is no need for you to print off the red and the green label. If you want to do it, there's no harm in you doing both. But yeah, it's not mandatory that you have to do both. So if you've got the 9-digit code, mark that in the front of the delegate booklet. If you don't have, then we'd look for the green and the red tags. And again, if you look at the online registration system, and especially looking at moving down a more sustainable route, where we would have you print off just a front and back part to the delegate booklet, the front page, whereas you gather all the information about the delegate, about the training centre and what their qualifications are. And then the back page, happy sheet, evaluation form, how the course went, how the instructor was, how you found TowerSure, other than printing off the 4 pages, which would then involve you printing off red and green tags. So yeah, we don't expect you to, but if you so wish to do, then feel free.
Brilliant. I'm just going to mention we've got a couple of questions that are relating to virtual cards. So I know we've touched on that today, but we are going to cover that in a lot more detail in the briefing on the 4th of March. So I'm going to sort of skip past those questions, not because we don't want to answer them, but because we'll be answering them on that second briefing, and I want to try and keep this focused on TowerSure and MyAccessIndustry if we can. So let me just see what we've got. Maarten, I wonder if you could just help us with this one. Can you just, as simply as possible, tell us exactly what TowerSure is? I think we're suggesting it's got 2 functions. It's for virtual cards and it's for recording tower inspections. Does that pretty much sum it up?
That's it. That's it. That's it. Exactly that. Yeah. So very simple app, allows you to basically go through a checklist. You stand next to the tower. The checklist tells you, look at this, look at that, look at that. Is it all in order? You tick the boxes to say, yep. Then you're asked to make a photo of it, and that is then sent to the system. On the other side, there is the console. So that is the bit that you are going to work on. That is where all these inspections are gathered together, so that that safety managers can have a look to see if all the towers are being inspected correctly. And then, and then also it's linked to your card. So we did that because we actually, the system keeps track of your qualifications and to see whether or not you should be inspecting these towers. It won't stop you doing it, but it will warn you and say, hey, we don't seem to have, qualifications for you to inspect this particular type of tower. It's just to remind you that it is a good idea to qualify yourself. So that is why we link the card. And then finally, it's the place where we are going to be able to provide you with your virtual card. So yeah, there is the two things: the inspection process and the virtual card.
Perfect. And just for the benefit of anyone on the call who's not familiar with the ins and outs of a PASMA training course, inspecting a tower has always been part of PASMA training courses. It's a crucial part of making sure that you build your tower, then you make sure you built it safely by doing an inspection. Just gives you that moment of pause to double check that everything's been done right. So traditionally, inspections have been done and recorded on paper, but TowerSure means that it's a much smarter way of doing it because it's virtual. That comes with a whole host of benefits. And that's why TowerSure's been around for a little while, but what we're doing now is embedding it into training courses so that delegates are being trained on how to use TowerSure rather than being trained on the paper format. So this is just these things that we're doing just now is to embed that into the training course. But what we hope is that the delegates will take it back to their workplaces and use it for every tower that they build from then on. Do we all agree with that? Is that a good summary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
And yes, that actually just a question just popped up there as I was speaking, asking, is the recording of the tower build only done at the time of a PASMA training course, or is a candidate expected to do this every time they assemble a tower on site? I think what we'd be saying is we would like them to, but they're not we're not checking at the minute to make sure that that's happening. Is that right, Chris?
I think on that, Rhona, there's a legal requirement to record inspections. And again, this is why we teach it in training courses. So, one of the things about TowerSure, and I think maybe some people maybe look upon it and think, oh, it's Big Brother watching. Well, think about when you've built a tower in the past and you filled in a piece of paper and you've left and you feel, oh my goodness, what happens if somebody comes and moves a guardrail or takes a stabilizer off or steals my toe boards? And TowerSure is going to have that stamp, date, time, location, which is going to give you that backing. That if you've inspected your tower using TowerSure and everything's in place. In fact, if you follow our newsletter, maybe later on this month, you'll see a picture of me with a tower which isn't very safely built. I'm not on it, I hasten to add. But if you think about, I am building a tower, I've got all my material on there and it's safe, and I've taken my TowerSure pictures. Now, one of the questions that was asked there earlier on, how many pictures do I need to take on a training course? Well, we want you to take as many as possible. But what we want you to do is capture the whole tower. So the ground area, the stabilizers and the casters, are they locked? The bracing pattern, the platforms, the toe boards, the guardrails, all of that encompassing in there. It means that if you're a delegate on a training course and further after your training courses, you've got that back in there that says, I left that tower in pristine condition, all toe boards, all guardrails, and all that were on there that you've never had before. So filling in a piece of paper is great. You've done an inspection, but the minute you've walked away, anything could have happened. TowerSure now gives you that confidence that when you've left that tower inspected, you have photographic evidence that it was in perfect working order before you left it.
Yeah. And it's free, isn't it, TowerSure? We're not selling something here. This is a free service, a free tool.
I'm happy to add my bank account details in there if anybody who wishes to, do a drop in for for a cup of coffee, if you funding my lifestyle. But no, TowerSure, and all of the functionality, as Karen had mentioned there, all of the functionality that is shown today will always be free. As the app evolves and more functionality gets added on there, and training centres and our customers want to use some of that additional functionality, then yeah, there may be a cost to that, but we haven't even come to that bit yet.
Charlotte, can I ask you, and again, with a caveat of an apology that I may have missed you already covering this, but did you have any instructors who were just very unhappy about using TowerSure? Have you come across anyone just unable or unwilling to use it on courses?
No, during the courses, it seems to not be an issue at all. A couple of them have struggled getting on it, but I've emailed PASMA and we've got them on, and it's been very straightforward. But no, I have asked quite a few for feedback, looking for constructive feedback that help you guys and also other people. But everyone's very nonchalant about it. They seem quite happy, and yeah, it's the same as what we're doing, but it's on a phone. Like I say, internet issues. can be a little annoying, but they know they've got the backup of the paper. But yeah, no, seemingly quite happy.
Very nonchalant. I love that. I'm going to use that in our marketing. I think everyone's very nonchalant about it, and that's good because yeah, if there's not a fundamental issue, but yet we know that there can be one-off issues like Wi-Fi problems or the present example that Chris touched on earlier, where on a certain course it might just not be possible to use TowerSure. We understand that, don't we, Chris? That's why we're saying that you can still use the paperwork option is still there, the same as it will be in real life on sites. There's some secure sites or sites without internet access or whatever it is that you feel like you can't use it there. Yeah, paperwork is not going away completely anytime soon, is it? Maybe get time for a couple more questions. Karen, I wonder, you mentioned the TowerSure labels are coming shortly. How soon is shortly? Can you?
Within, I would say we just got a form. We were trying to decide how to do this best because we have a few things that we will be sending out to instructors, and we came to the conclusion that we're just going to email a form. We have most instructors' email addresses via the online registration system as they need to sign in there anyway. So we will be sending a form out, I'd say within the next week or so, asking them to send us where they would like the TowerSure labels delivered. And I want to just reiterate here that as soon as we have that information, we'll destroy it. We won't use it again. So if you want it delivered to your home address, that's absolutely fine. We wanted to avoid, so for example, Charlotte, we send you a couple of packs out. You've got what, 50, 80 instructors. It's a hassle trying to get it out to every one of those. So if we then say to them, where would you like them sent to? It just saves the hassle for you guys. We'll just send them from here. But hopefully within the next week or so.
Good. Okay. It's not like we're recording this and we can hold you to that, Karen. It's okay. Maybe a couple of quick questions. Chris, what are the TowerSure labels for exactly? Just to clarify that.
The TowerSure labels, well, maybe I don't know if it's been covered earlier on, but the TowerSure label itself, you don't need to do anything. If you've got a phone with a camera on it, if someone's inspected the tower, you can walk up to that TowerSure label and scan it, and it'll tell you if that tower has been inspected and when it's due its next inspection. So it takes away the handwritten element of what we've done with the green and red tags. So where you'd have to put in the location and all that stuff. But if you've got a TowerSure label attached to the tower, all of that detail is already recorded digitally. And the good thing about it is once the tower has been dismantled, that TowerSure label can be reused.
Yeah.
And you
Well,
don't,
sorry, Karen, on you go.
I was only going to add, by using the TowerSure label, if it's on the tower, you don't need a TowerSure app to scan it. You can just use it because it's a QR code. You can just use your camera function, scans it, and it'll show you the inspection itself.
Charlotte, we just had one question for you asking if you're able to say or if you know what percentage uptake there's been on TowerSure from delegates. Is that something you know about?
It's not something I'd have on hand. I'd have to ask all the instructors, I'm afraid.
That's fine. Just thought I would put that one to you. Okay, I know there's still some questions, but I think it's very difficult trying to manage all these questions as they pop up. So I apologise if we've missed any.
No, it's fine. Rhona, can I come back? And then obviously one of the questions been asking based on my statement about like the recording inspections. Yeah, it's a legal requirement. It's covered in the training course. I'll give you one just as an example. Regulation 6 of Pure states that requires inspection to be carried out by a competent person. And Karen, I think you covered earlier on what the definition of a competent person is and the terminology from ACWAT, the Advisory Committee for Work at Height Training. And it says here that records are maintained and they highlight any defects to be found in any remedial action required and any subsequent taken. So basically, the section within other regulation talks about where and how you record those inspections. But think about it. If you were not to record that inspection and something were to go wrong, you have no backing if something happened. So the HSE will come in and they'll ask for records. about inspection of equipment. And if you've got that detail, if you've got that backing and that inspection there, it means that they will not be looking any further. Having been involved with a fatal accident many years ago with the HSE, and maintaining records was one thing that was fantastic in my side, which led to a prosecution for my previous employer because they tried to pin the blame on me, but I had all my paperwork and all my documentation recorded in situ. It just meant that when the HSE came to investigate, that they could see everything that I had done. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why it's important to record inspections, but it's covered within the PASMA training course for the candidates.
Brilliant. Yeah. So we are, delegates are told about that by default if they're coming to the training courses, and we know that TowerSure has been designed in a way that allows you to meet all of the inspection requirements of the work at height regulations in particular. It's got all the different fields for all the different bits of information that you're required to record. So yeah, we can maybe put something together on that and share it if it's going to help members to explain why TowerSure is so important and what it's covering. I know it's 11 o'clock, but can I ask a very quick question to Maarten? Will the delegates' company, their employer, be able to access their projects that they've done on training? And if so, how would they do that?
Right. So
I said very quick.
the
Sorry,
tower,
if it's not really quick.
yeah. So the tower that they have recorded during the course will only be visible to the delegate, and the reason for that is because it was not added to a project. However, if they go back to their employer and say, here, I've got a really great app that we want to use, they can go in, they can set up their organization, they can create projects, they can then invite their personnel to those projects and start recording towers that everybody in that organization can see. All you need to find out how to do that is in towersure.pasma.co.uk. There is a quick start guide, and there is also a guide on how to set up your organization and start to manage all the inspections.
Thank you, Maarten. Okay, that is definitely all we've got time for. If there's any questions that we've not answered that have in any way, we can look through that and put written answers together. But for now, I'll hand you back to Chris to wrap up.
Excellent. Thank you, Rhona, and the rest of our speakers, Karen and Charlotte and Maarten. Again, Rhona, thank you for hosting your Q&A session. And there's quite a lot of questions. I know that some questions we never got through there. And remember, this has been recorded and you can access this back, especially if you get to a point where you think, I want to set up a project and I want to make sure that all instructors are attached in there. Go back to the presentation, look at Karen's bit, the bits that she was involved in the presentation didn't drop out. So our next briefing this afternoon is at 4 p.m. and this is for instructors and how they will use TowerSure. So we'll cover today how you set up projects and invite employed and freelance instructors. So the one this afternoon is geared more towards the instructors and how they're going to be using TowerSure. So thank you for attending and it's been a pleasure and goodbye.